Hi everyone, and thank you for joining. In case you missed it at the beginning, I'm Emily. I'm the events coordinator for Girl Boss Society. So this passion project, we've collaborated with Warwick Enterprise. Debbie Smith she's in my corner. She's helped us bring this event to life, but also we have a range of wonderful panelists who have also helped this event come together. So thank you to all of them, and they'll have an opportunity to introduce themselves. I wouldn't want to do that on their behalf. But just to start off, thank you everyone for coming. Whether you've been a part of the planning stage, part of the panel, or simply attending, I really hope that this experience is valuable and insightful. It most certainly will be for me, and to the point where I'm like, oh, what side hustle can I start? What side business can I start? So I'm looking forward to hearing from everyone, and hopefully you guys will have the same excitement. So during this event, we'll be hearing from Janabi, from Gabby, from Molly, and from Varen. Sorry if I've mispronounced people's names. I'm rubbish when it comes to that, but I'm sure you can have your moment to correct me. And we'll be hearing about their incredible small businesses, and we'll be asking them some questions. I have some questions already made, but if you have questions, feel free to either verbally ask some questions or put them in the chat. That might be useful, and we can ask them at the end. So before we begin the event, we have some exciting opportunities to mention to you all. So I'm going to hand over to Ellie to talk about her Innovation Collective, and then I'll hand over to Debbie to talk about some opportunities that Warwick Enterprise have. So Ellie, if you could start us off with that.
Sure. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to just quickly say what Her Innovation Collective is. I don't actually run Her Innovation Collective. It's run by Warwick Enterprise, but I wanted to speak about it because I've done it for the past 3 rounds, I think, and I think it's just so amazing that I really encourage everyone who can to join. So there's going to be 4 sessions. The theme for this round of Her Innovation Collective is Beyond COVID, the New Normal. And so there's going to be amazing speakers for the first 2 sessions. And then the next 2 after that are, we do coaching sessions where people can bring up what's going on in their life, and everyone discusses it and gives them pointers for how they think they can tackle the issue. And I think it's really brilliant, and it's a great community as well. And so I'd encourage anyone to sign up, and the closing for applications is tomorrow. I'll put in the chat the link to that, but yes, I just think it's brilliant, and if you can, please join. Thank you.
Yeah, and then if I hand it, thank you very much, Ellie. Obviously, encourage everyone to look into that and definitely take advantage of these amazing opportunities. Speaking of, Debbie, are you happy to mention your opportunities, please?
Yes, I am. I'm just going to get my PowerPoint open. Hopefully I'm writing yes, the right one. Just bear with me a second, sorry everyone. I'll try and keep this as short as possible, because obviously the main event is speaking to the panelists and hearing what they've got to share, so I will keep it short and sweet. Hopefully everyone can see my presentation. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. Can you see it full screen at your end, or? Yeah, okay, brilliant. So my name's Debbie Smith, and I'm the Enterprise Development Officer for Warwick Enterprise. I'm delighted to be here today with Girl Boss and with a few innovation fellows of ours as well, including Varun. So thank you ever so much for inviting us along and for engaging with this. Something that's close to my heart in terms of getting more females engaged with starting their own opportunities and kind of aspiring people and inspiring people and kind of letting people know what the opportunities are, because I think sometimes there can be a bit of a tendency for people to sit on ideas and not know what they can do with them, and that's what Warwick Enterprise is all around, is kind of helping you, supporting you in taking your ideas forward, and whether that's through one-to-one support and funding opportunities and all the different activities which I'll go through shortly. That's what we're all around. In terms of Warwick Enterprise, so we believe that every student should get an opportunity to engage with innovation. And we run lots of different activities varying from inspiration, education and incubation. In terms of our community, we've got a fantastic ecosystem across the university that's engaged in enterprise, with GirlBoss being one of them. We also engage with lots of other societies as well, which you can see on this PowerPoint. So we've got Warwick Seed, we've got Warwick Tech, Warwick Congress, who've got a pitching competition in I think, this week. So keep an eye out for that as well if you're interested in that. But we also link up with different departments across the university and again kind of try and spearhead enterprise and create opportunities for engagement across the university. So as discussed, what we want to do is support people to not only start their businesses, but hopefully start their passion projects or any kind of ideas that they want to take forward. So I think one of the key things that we kind of want to draw attention to is the fact that it doesn't have to be a business idea. It can be any idea to kind of make a difference. It may be something you've spotted on campus or locally or something that's close to your heart. There's a lot of different ways that you could take things forward, and that's where we can support you in kind of what may be the best direction. So as discussed, we've got events and workshops. So events like this, for example, we've got competitions and funding. We've got lots of online programs as well. So again, with the digital era that we're living in at the moment, please do check them out. We've got a social shifters platform and steps to startup, which are really nice bite-sized video opportunities for you to kind of start your own enterprise as well. So it's a great way to kind of start your entrepreneurial journey. We offer one-to-one support with our innovation fellows and with us as well. And as I say, we can connect you up with different people from across the university and externally as well. So just kind of make contact with us really, and we'll do our best to support you. We've got incubators as well launching. So recently we've just done a shout out for Creative Futures, where if you've got a creative idea, you can get support through that in Leamington Spa in a new beautiful building called 1 Mill Street. We've also got 2 other incubators, one being Deep Tech and the other being Health and Wellbeing. So whatever your idea, you will be able to find some support that fits within one of those. So again, please do reach out to us. In terms of opportunities and activities, on our website, you'll be able to see all of these. And because I've only got a short amount of time, I won't go through them all. But please do have a look at all the different things that we have on offer. I will share this presentation so you can have a look as well. But the key thing that I wanted to draw your attention to was Ingenuity, which is a social impact competition, which there's 4 themes and there's a huge prize pot, but also more importantly, it's a support program for idea development. You don't need to have a pre-existing idea. You can basically come along if you're interested in any of the 4 following themes. The first is building community, the next is tackling climate change, improving health and creating prosperity. So if any of those kind of themes really speak to you, and again going back to the passion project, if you're interested in that, then I highly recommend you getting involved with this competition, because they have lots of keynote speakers that will be there to kind of talk to you about the challenges and opportunities that exist within these areas. And also there's some great mentors that will support you through the idea generation and development process as well. The deadline is the 28th of February, so not long now. So please do keep an eye out for that and let other people know about that, who's kind of any other students or friends that have got ideas at the moment. It is for external people as well. We've also got some fantastic funding opportunities. So we've got Lord Roots Fund, which is up to £3,000, where you can explore innovative ideas that can potentially relate to your personal development. The deadline for that is the end of term. So again, if you're interested in that, please just, come along, have a one-to-one with us, and we can talk through your idea and support you in putting that application through as well. And there's a few different external funding opportunities as well at the moment. So there's a creative and digital funding opportunity, and there's a sustainability one as well. There's also a new one that come across the desk yesterday around community support in terms of COVID challenges. So again, kind of, just interact with us and we'll do our best to support you with kind of where the opportunities exist. I was going to talk about Her Innovation Collective, but I think Ellie's done a fantastic shout out for that. I've been along to the sessions as well. They're so incredibly inspiring. So really highly recommend that, kind of if you're interested in enterprise and you want to hear from inspirational females and be a part of a community in Warwick, then it is kind of one of the best platforms, I think. But again, maybe I'm a bit biased. But that brings me to the end. What I'll do, I'll put these links into the chat, but please, if you're not linked up to any of our social media, sign up to at least one of them, because that's when we'll talk about different events and be able to kind of tell you about the different opportunities that we've got going on as well. I'll also put my email address in the chat as well, so if anyone does want to kind of make direct contact, feel free to. Thanks.
Thank you, Debbie. That's great. I think what's so incredible about all these opportunities is that it's applicable to people no matter what level they're at on their journey, whether they just have a hobby at the moment, or whether they have an idea, or whether it's a fully flourished business at the moment. All these opportunities that you're creating can be used by anyone. So it's really worthwhile looking into those. And like Debbie said, she'll put the links in the chat. So thank you very much for that. Is there anything anyone would like to say about that at the moment, or shall we get going with the panelists? Going over to panelists? No? Okay. So essentially, it would be great to have the panelists introduce themselves and explain what their business is, and then we'll get into some more questions regarding their businesses, regarding their journeys. So if I could just hand over to Molly to start off with, would that be okay? And just briefly introduce your business and what you do, that'd be great.
Hi everyone, it's such a pleasure to be here today and to speak to all of you. I'm really excited. I'm Molly Lambourne. I graduated from Warwick University in 2019 with a history degree. I'm currently studying for my Masters in Fine Art, working towards becoming a full-time fine artist, and I founded the business Sophie Stokes. Sophie Stokes specialises in really quirky 100% recycled plastic jewellery.
Amazing, thank you. I really advise you guys checking it out. It's so cool. Thank you for that, Molly. And Gabby, would you be happy to speak about yours, please?
Yeah. Hi everyone. Thank you for having me. So basically, I make kind of like streetwear / loungewear. And it's basically just like really colourful, comfortable clothes, but like not your usual like grey tracksuit, like actually exciting. That's pretty much it.
Again, it's like she says, it's exciting. It's not just your plain, it's psychedelic, it's colourful, it's fun, it's amazing. Thank you, Gabby. Janavi, sorry, I'm probably mispronouncing your name, so I'll allow you to introduce yourself correctly and also your business.
No, that's totally fine, Emily. It's Janvi, by the way. Yeah. So my name is Janvi Maganti, and I've graduated from the Warwick University last year in 2020 with an economics degree. And I started my business, Ecom Consulting, when I was in second year. So I was juggling studying and working on the side as well. What we do at Ecom Consulting is we help empower people to set up their own businesses, because I know that for many, the beginning obstructing factor is the upfront capital. And that's what we help eliminate, where we help them set up and start their own e-commerce brands from scratch with almost zero investment, and we take care of their manufacturing, supplying, and everything so far. So currently I'm full-time into the business and totally having a great time.
That sounds incredible. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Varun, would you be able to introduce yourself and what you do, please?
Sure. Thank you, Emily. Hi, guys. My name is Varun Balsara. I'm a third year studying a BSc in Digital Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And I'm currently co-founding The Human Entrepreneur. It's basically a platform that we're developing, which kind of connects people of early and young stage entrepreneurs and helping them to kind of grow in their ventures by providing a lot of support from community to mentorship and to mentoring. And along with that, we also have a podcast, which was actually the inception of everything, really, where we humanize entrepreneurs and we look at the humans behind the entrepreneurs. So in a way, just demask the so-called entrepreneur. that media paints. So yeah, that's what we're doing. It's funny because we just released Molly's episode today on our podcast. So yeah, if you want, check it out. It's called the Human Entrepreneur Podcast. And yeah, typically what we're doing now is we're building our community and growing our platform for mentoring, using specific AI to curate correct matches for people based on different preferences and tastes. And prior to this, I was the founder, CEO of Connect Us, which was essentially a platform that used kind of a psychology-backed algorithm to match people on campus with specific needs and specific preferences, so that you don't feel lonely and you actually make genuine connections. So yeah, that's me. And I also happen to be an innovation fellow with Warwick Enterprise, which I truly enjoy.
Amazing, thank you. Well, all of you are keeping yourselves busy, aren't you? And what you're doing is amazing. So it's really exciting to hear all the fun things you're getting up to, and also I look forward to listening to that podcast. So I've got a few questions that I'll throw out to all of you, which I'm really interested to hear the answers to. And like I said at the beginning, if anyone else has any questions, either just interrupt me, tell me to stop talking and ask your questions, or if you're more comfortable, just put them in the chat and I can read them out for you. So first of all, I would like to know is what made you decide to turn your idea into a reality? So if anyone has an answer already for that, then feel free to go ahead. If not, I can go to someone first. I don't know if anyone wants to start us off.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Janvi.
So if you're asking me what the reason was, or like when I decided to turn my idea into a reality, I think it was something that I very consciously kept thinking about throughout my growing up years, because I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And what really drove me is the fact that if there's a problem and I can identify that, then I can definitely find a solution to match that. I think that's what really drove me. And in the same way, that's exactly where it led me in my career, because right now what we do at Ecom Consulting is, again, very similar. We find entrepreneurs who do want to start up their own businesses, but are either being obstructed by the fact that they don't have enough guidance, or it could be the fact that there's usually a lot of upfront investment, a lot of capital that goes in when you need to start a proper business. And that's where we came in as a solution. And we developed this model called the Zero Pocket model, where basically, let's assume that, Emily, you decide to, you want to sell skincare products, but obviously you have to take into account the manufacturing, how are you going to deliver it to your customers, how are you going to get orders, how's the marketing going to go on? And that's where we come in and we're like, don't worry, we're here. So we take care of the manufacturing in such a way that only when you get an order from the customer, that is the fact that your pocket is first filled in with the money, that's when you pay us, and then the manufacturing takes place. So it's almost like on an order basis, but the time of delivery is again at the max within 10 days. So you're not missing out on starting your business, and at the same time there's very less risk. So I think that's something that really drove us, because we couldn't just let that happen. So many people with so many ideas not starting purely because they're facing these problems. So I think that's really what set us into motion.
Amazing, thank you. It sounds like you're you're naturally just driven in your personality, and you want to help others to flourish, and that's incredible. Thank you for that. Varun, would you like to share what turned your idea into reality?
Yeah, sure. So Connect Us was started out because of a very fundamental problem I personally faced, where I was new to Warwick first year, I think, and just a couple of months into being a fresher, and I'm of a personality that I don't really like to go out and party as much. My type of night out is really, card games and probably at best a pub. So things like Smack and Neon never made really much sense to me. And it was difficult to connect with people outside of that, especially in first year. And as a result of that, I realized that something needed to change, and that's where Connect Us was born, where it was kind of solving a very innate problem that I was facing, which was a lack of community and a lack of feeling of belonging somewhere, and connecting with people who are just like me. Now, as I started building this business, I realized that I was very fortunate to be able to tap into resources that Warwick Enterprise and um, available other resources that Warwick University provides. But when you dig a little deeper, the fundamental problem with early stage young entrepreneurs, just like Janvi said, is that there is a lot of problems with starting up, and that starting up problem perpetuates severely. And eventually what happens is you land up kind of saying, you know what, just leave it. I think I'm working in a silo. Probably everybody's right. I should probably give up on my dreams. Maybe just go down that, that route of like finding what the herd does. Typically, if that's probably getting a job, or if that's something that, even if you don't really like that job, you probably just go down that route because you don't know any better. And there's so many people who are stuck in that rut. And what we realized was, if we just give them a little support at the very beginning, be that through mentorship, be that through community, or be that through these podcasts that we can actually inspire people with, and to show you, or to show everyone out there, that you're not alone when you're building. There's a community like you, under 30, vibrant entrepreneurs who want to connect, but there's no formalized way of connecting. That's when we realize that like the human entrepreneur serves that purpose, where we're bringing in together these connections and these really cool people who are working in silos. But when you kind of break those silos down and you have this open, dynamic conversation of entrepreneurship, the dropout rates significantly, fall, and you see more people getting into entrepreneurship and sustaining. It's a lonely journey, and we recognize that more than anybody, which is why community is such a pivotal part of what we do and what we're building as well. So both of them, I think, started off as a very fundamental problem, innate problem that I was really passionate to solve, and you just kind of have to find solutions to solve them. And I think that's probably how best one would describe entrepreneurship, in my opinion.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's wonderful that what you have created came from such a personal place. And also, I think it's amazing that you're living proof that utilizing the opportunities the university have to offer and Warwick Enterprise have to offer can allow you to get out of that rut that you were talking about. So that's amazing. Thank you. Molly, could you share what turned your idea into reality, please?
Yeah, so when I was at Warwick, my first 2 years, both summers, I worked quite corporate internships, and there was nothing wrong with a job, there was nothing wrong with a company, but I just felt, my well-being just took a dip. I just didn't feel like I was happy. And the reason because of that is, like, for 3 years, I'd been repressing this innate need to create and make and be creative. And I just felt, I would have been sort of unhappy in that kind of work because I wasn't having that space to create and to do my own thing. So I remember going to a careers advisor at Warwick, and they said to me about Warwick Enterprise. So I started to think, I was drawing all the time. I was making these really pretty, really groovy designs. And I thought, what can I do with this? And I founded Sophie Stokes. I got funding for it. I then got a second round of funding with it. So I'm still sort of working with Warwick Enterprise now to build Sophie Stokes. And also I applied for my master's. So I just sort of decided, life is short, which sounds silly when you're in your 20s because we're still so young, right? But life is short. So it was a bit like a decision, live every moment to be happy, do things that make you happy. So founding Sophie Stokes was that choice for me. And that's why I started it.
I love that. Thank you. I think that's such an important message. And, this event is called the Passion Project. It's to show people that you are able to make your work something that you enjoy. I think there's this kind of assumption that work should be this horrible, tedious 9-to-5 job that you hate, but actually you are able to turn something you're passionate about into your livelihood essentially. So thank you for sharing that message. And Gabby, what turned your idea into a reality?
So mine, like, I didn't actually set out thinking I was going to make a business. Like, I just started making t-shirts, like, for myself. And then, like, my friend was in the Warwick Line Society, and they had a fashion show. So she was like, why don't you put some in? And then at that point, I made it into more of a brand. But then just after that, we, like, went into lockdown, which was obviously horrible. But I was, like, lucky enough that, like, I had enough of my loan left because the term was, like, cancelled. So then I was able to put, like, what I had left of my loan, like, into manufacturing. So then that really, like, pushed it to actually become, like, a business. So I was quite lucky in a sense about that.
Thank you. Again, it seems like you turned something you enjoy doing for yourself and just made the most of it and took the opportunity that you had. So that's amazing. So moving on to my second question for all of you, is what have you learned about yourself in the process? Varun, you look like you're thinking. Do you have an answer to this?
Yeah, I think one of the things is like nothing's gonna ever work the first time. And if you expect it to work flawlessly, then you're probably living a very alternate reality. I think that's one of the biggest learnings of entrepreneurship. It's a constant. I view it as a constant experiment. There is a problem and you have a solution, but one must not fixate on the solution itself. So it's like a series of experiments that you do, eventually finding your perfect solution to the problem that is, so desirable to solve that you set out to do it in the first place. And so marrying yourself to the idea, that's the second point, is also not a wise decision, because that idea is to solve a problem. So more than that, marry yourself to the problem, less the idea. So I think that's number two. And I guess number three is eventually you will fail a lot. And it ties back to like number one. So embrace it. There's nothing wrong in failing. False perception of entrepreneurship and people kind of having all their shit together is a great media pitch, but in reality, as a human entrepreneur, we've spoken to so many such young entrepreneurs or older entrepreneurs. Everybody's really winging it, and some are doing it better than others, but predominantly everybody's winging it, because fundamentally entrepreneurship is, by its very definition, creating something new or kind of tweaking something that's old but in a better way, and you're doing it in a very novel way. And if you go by that logic, then eventually, if everything is new, how can you succeed at the very first time? Maybe you can, but there is no handbook. And so you're literally writing your handbook as you go along. So I guess those are the three things that I've learned. And of course, a lot of things that I've learned personally. I mean, entrepreneurship is an exercise in self-discovery. It's a constant pursuit. You get to know a lot more about yourself. I did not know I was a control freak until I had my first fallout with my with my co-founder back in the day, with a few teammates. I did not know I struggle with perfectionism. I did not know that anxiety was such a major part of my identity. And as a result of that, I do suffer and struggle with a lot of mental health issues. I did not know until very recently that perfectionism, as I said earlier, is a huge part of what I criticize others for being a perfectionist, but I landed up understanding myself to be a perfectionist. And I think these are all learning experiences, and I guess being more aware of this through your interactions with your team, through the interaction with your product, eventually then become something that you lead by, and it becomes your truth, and you start improving as a result of that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's such an important message to take home about failure for anyone in this event. Building your own business, you will inevitably come across failure, but you shouldn't let it set you back. You should learn from it and go on. And also, I think it's incredible that you've had this kind of journey with yourself and not just the business. That's wonderful. So Janvi, do you have anything you've learned particularly about yourself? I don't know if this is my connection or can we go over to Molly then? If I don't know if Janvi's connection is
Hi, sorry, I think something was wrong with my connection. I didn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I was just asking if you've learned anything about yourself in the process.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think entrepreneurship is literally like a learning curve. And like Varun was saying, I definitely agree with him on the fact that every step you take is an experiment, because there's no blueprint that any of us can follow, because every format of an organization or business is totally different. I don't think you can ever be like, oh, they did ABC, and if I do ABC, it'll be successful. So it's all about experimenting. And I think having that courage to just take that step and wanting to see which works, that's definitely one. And something that I think I personally learned about myself as a personality trait was the fact that I think as I kept going, I just realized that I'm someone who just can't settle for something less than the best. That I think is kind of something that really drives me. And I really bank on that to keep me going, because there are days when I'm not at my best and I might not be getting everything done and I might not be finding all the solutions. But that's when I need to remind myself that that's exactly why you're here. You need to keep going at it. And that's when you're going to hit, the golden mine. So that's one. And I think, Emily, like you mentioned, it's very important that, especially being someone who's leading a team, it's not always about work, because I'm not a robot, nor are they. And now that we've been working remote for almost 1.5 years, Zoom calls and Skype meetings get really boring. So the other thing that we really came up with at Ecom Consulting is that our team, we have a weekly Friday evening game call where it's purely games and fun for like the 2 hours of our Skype meeting. And that's something that I really realized, that in work, and I don't just mean in business, I also mean it could be an organization, it could even be a society. You need to also bond as people, because at the end of the day, you need to want to work with each other and not like, oh God, she's messaging me, or like, oh God, do I have to get up in the morning and, sign into the meeting. So that's another thing that I really learned, that it's more to do with people and the connection, and then the work will follow.
Amazing, thank you. I think definitely, considering the businesses come from something you enjoy and come from a passion, it's important to keep that passion and to keep the joy going, so that it doesn't become something that you don't like doing. I think that is really important. Molly, is there something you particularly learned through the process?
Yeah, I think I learned how resilient I am, because with having physical products, you are constantly pitching to people, you're constantly showing your products, and guess what, you're constantly rejected, like a lot of the time. But it's okay, because whenever there's a rejection, you just know there is something better around the corner and there's a reason for it, and that it's okay, and it just doesn't matter. And I feel like I'm just very okay with failing. And as Varun was saying, failure is just part of it. And it sounds like such a negative word, but it's not, because when you fail, you've learned something, right? It's not such a bad thing. And I think also running everything by myself, basically for the first 2 years, and just recently I've just hired my first 2 interns, and it has been incredible to just release some of that work and just breathe and have perspective on what I'm doing. And that was a big challenge, to actually say, you know what, I can ask for help, and that's okay. So like asking for help as well, it's such an important thing. But yeah.
Thank you. I think that's so wonderful that you've learned that about yourself, and hopefully that's really reassuring for all you future entrepreneurs, that it's okay to fail, and that it just builds you, and you can learn strength from it, and it's a really powerful thing. And like you say, it's completely okay to reach out to people for help, and you don't have to do it by yourself, by all means. Gavi, is there anything you've learned about yourself in the process?
Yeah, my Wi-Fi is a bit dodgy, so sorry if I cut out. But I used to think of myself as kind of quite lazy. Like now I've started doing this, like I've kind of realized, like if you're really genuinely passionate about something, it's very hard to actually stop me working on it at the moment. I agree with everyone else was saying about resilience as well, because like there's so many setbacks, but you just got to like keep pushing, and if you've got like the drive and the passion for it, then you'll definitely overcome them. So yeah, and perfectionism as well, like Varun was saying, I wouldn't have called myself a perfectionist before, but like, I mean, Emily will tell you, like I am obsessive about like the stuff I make at times. So that's definitely part of it as well.
Yeah, I didn't mention at the beginning, Gabby's my housemate, so I see all the little things behind the business. But no, it's definitely perfectionism. It's a good trait to have, but also you need to understand that you're not always going to perfect it, and that's absolutely okay. So that said, is there one tip that each of you have for aspiring entrepreneurs? If obviously you can't really limit it to one tip, I'm sure you have many, but one overarching tip you'd pass on to someone. We'll start with you, Molly. Is there anything?
I think just plan research, really think about what you're doing, and just don't be afraid to ask for advice, and just get help from others. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you. Varun, is there a tip one tip? I'm sure you have one.
I think one of the things that I would want to say is just start. Everything will fall into place. You learn along the way. But just start. It's like 95% should just be like executing, and 5% should be planning. What happens is we kind of plan, and then there's analysis paralysis. So yeah, just start. You'll figure it out.
That's interesting. You both obviously have two different approaches to what you do, but I think both can be valuable, and it's important to take into consideration what you're like as a person and what works best for you, and that's probably why you have these different approaches. So yeah, definitely. Sometimes jumping into the deep end is what you need.
I think planning is very important, but just planning without action is something that I just think you need to be aware of that.
Definitely. Thank you. Janvi, is there one tip you'd tell aspiring entrepreneurs?
I think it would be exactly what Varun just said, because, entrepreneurs, each of us have our own different ways and different ideas that we're all working on. So there isn't any specific tip that I can give them in terms of that. But the one major tip is definitely to just start, because I think I definitely hear a lot of people who have a lot of ideas and good ones, but there's just no beginning because you're constantly thinking, you're constantly doing your research. Yes, there should be research, and of course you need to know what you're getting into, but at some point you need to get into it. So it would be to just start, because even with me, e-com consulting wasn't the first business. We first started off as a way to help architects market themselves. That didn't work out, and then we moved on to helping students with finding career options, and that didn't work out as well. And then 6 months later is when e-com consulting began. So this was a journey, and I don't think this would have happened if I didn't start somewhere. So it would be to just start.
Thank you. That's very valuable. Gabby, do you have one tip you'd tell everyone?
Yeah, it's a little bit cliche, but I would just say, like, stay true to yourself and like trust in your own vision, because like there's going to be loads of people telling you, oh, you should do this design, or like I would do it this way if it were me, but like it isn't them, like it is you, and you need to like stick to what you're doing, stay true to yourself, and avoid comparing to others as much as you can, because that's just going to divert your energy from your own goal, and you need to focus on like yourself and what you're doing.
I think that's so important. You don't want to lose sight of what your mission is and what your project is because of what other people are doing. That's really helpful. Thank you, Gabby. So if you all had one word or a sentence, I'll allow you a sentence to describe your journey, what would it be? Varun, shall we start with you?
Like one word to describe my journey.
Yeah, the journey in the business.
I would say a roller coaster.
I like that. Highs and lows.
Sometimes more lows than highs, actually. But the highs make the lows all worth it.
Exactly. Hopefully, you get off the roller coaster having enjoyed it. Gabby, what would your word or sentence be to describe the journey?
I would say rewarding, because like it's such a cool feeling, like you have an idea and then it becomes a reality, and then there's people, like for me anyway, people that are wearing it that I've never even met, and it's just like it's a really cool process. So yeah, rewarding, that's the word.
And I think that's a lovely concept, and for aspiring entrepreneurs, you know, it doesn't need to be a major success with lots of people in the first place. I think you will still get that feeling of reward, no matter if you just have one customer or one client, or whether you have hundreds. You know, I think you'll still get that level of satisfaction, and that should be enough to motivate you just to go for it. Molly, what would you describe your journey like?
Sounds cheesy, but a marathon, because it's a long journey, and it's something you have to celebrate the small victories, because you don't just come up with an idea and then the next day it's like a big success. It's a lot of time and effort, and yeah.
I like that, and nothing's too cheesy, don't worry, they're cliches for a reason. Janvi, how would you describe your journey in one word or a sentence?
I think it would be work in progress, because I don't really think we've just started out. We're very, very new. And I think even if you ask me this question a couple of years down the lane, I'd still say the same, because there's always something that you want to do, that there's something more that you always want to add value to. So yeah, I think work in progress.
Amazing, thank you. So I'd just like to ask, for those of you who are still studying and still at university, are you thinking of taking this forward as a potential job after university, or do you think it'll still continue as a side thing, or what are your plans? Varun, are you able to start?
Am I audible?
You are now, yes.
Okay, great. I think the way I see it is I need to give this at least a couple of months. So yeah, post university, I do see this as something, because we're all working towards it as a team, and we've laid out our expectations, and most of us would be pursuing this full time after we graduate, hopefully, if everything works out. And so yeah, it will be at least for a while. The way I see it is it's either 1 year of your life or regret post not doing it. And I think the latter is a really, it is a huge cost to incur. So you know, the way I see it is you just have to do it, and let's see where it goes.
Thank you, and good luck with that. And I think just for those of you who are watching who are thinking about starting a business, you know, that feeling of regret, that thought of regret should be a drive for you just to take the plunge and take the leap. And what's the worst that can happen, I suppose. So Gabby, are you planning on taking this further beyond university?
Yeah, no, it's funny you're saying that, because I've been thinking like exactly the same recently. It's like I've applied for a master's in like fashion marketing, and I think I hear back by Friday. But if I don't get it, like I'm leaning quite hard now towards just like taking a year out and like just giving it everything I have while I've got the chance. Because like I think if I don't just go for it, like what's a year now in the grand scheme of things? So yeah, I think I might just go for it and hope for the best.
Thank you. Good luck to you as well. I have full faith in both of you that you can turn it into something and continue it as well as it's going at the moment. And then for Molly and Janvi, obviously you both graduated and you have turned it into a job. How have you found that transition of turning it from a passion and a project, so to speak, into a full-time job? How have you found that?
So I'm not quite graduated yet. So I'm doing my master's part-time. It's okay. So at the moment, but I treat it like a full-time job. So for what I'm doing with fine art and even the business, it takes a while for it to be fully monetized. So but yeah, for me, you know, I've got some savings up, so I'll just sort of be like treating it like a full-time job, not like a hobby, you know, which is what I have been doing throughout my masters, and just keep going with it, because it will sort of, with what I'm doing, it's sort of like a slow burn thing. It's like, you know, the more I get my work out there, the more people want to come and buy it. So it's just so yeah, it's getting there, I think. But yeah, I fully intend to continue with it. Yeah.
Amazing. Apologies. I knew, because you said you graduated from Warwick and then I forgot about the masters. But yeah, it's amazing to hear that it's something you want to carry on and something that you plan on doing. Janvi, what about you?
I think I absolutely loved it. I just love the fact that if something's good and I'm being rewarded, it's because of the effort that me and my team have put in. And then if something's off, I also know that it's because of what we have kind of overlooked upon. So I totally love the fact that I have complete control of what I want to do. There's a lot of freedom, and the fact that we get to design our team culture. So let it be with the employees. We're a team of 10 currently. So I think I absolutely love it. But if you're asking me whether there's something I recommend for everyone, I think it depends on what everyone's looking for. It's totally okay to be wanting to work at a 9-to-5 job, and it's also totally okay to be doing or starting up your own business. So that's something that I think each individual should know for themselves. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm genuinely having the best time. And when I say the best time, I don't mean that it's always been roses every day, but I feel like even the low days and even the days that I'm not getting everything right or that something's gone off, I still know that I can get it back in control. Because if I could get things to be derailed, or if things have become derailed, I still have the control to kind of get it back on track. So definitely loving it. I don't think I would have it any other way.
Amazing. I think that's so important. You know, if you have your own small business, you are in control and you are able to adjust things to work, and you have that power. And I think it's believing in yourself and having that faith in yourself that you can do the things that you want to. So thank you for that. Is there anything any of you hadn't considered before starting the small business that perhaps you think you should have, or just something that you'd offer to consider to those who are thinking of starting a small business?
I think I'll go for this one. Make sure you test your product, or like build an MVP before you go all out and start investing a lot of money into something. A fairly functional product will kind of test the market for you and see whether there's an actual demand for your product. So don't jump in the deep end and, you know, have a lot of money spent only to realize that, oh well, it didn't work. So use the opportunities that you're getting. So the £500 from the, you know, the student fund, or the £3,000 from Lord Roots, they're all good stepping stones to test out your idea. And eventually, if it becomes the next big thing, you haven't really spent too much of your own resources. So think of it as like a safe space to fail and experiment. And look at the world of like entrepreneurship as, I guess, a series of experiments that you do, and some experiments work better than others, and the ones that don't work, well, they don't work, and so you fail fast and you move fast.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, testing your product before you commit everything to it. And I've noticed with correct me if I'm wrong, but I've noticed with Gabby's business, she often puts out, polls on social media to see what kind of products her fans, her consumers would like before she fully commits to getting an order in or something. And I think that's a really valuable thing to do. So with that in mind, are there certain, sorry, this is a question that I've been thinking of. How have you guys utilized social media to better your businesses and to improve your businesses?
Should I go for it?
Yeah, go for it. Sorry, it's an open question to all of you.
Yeah. I think social media is literally what drives us at Ecom Consulting, because it's all about marketing, right? So let it be social media ads or the brand image that you want to build for the companies. You would really want to match the consumer to what they want, and hopefully what they want is a product that you want to sell. And I think that's the match that you really want to make, and social media makes that match for you, because literally anyone and everyone is at least on Facebook, Instagram, or at least uses the Google search engine. So yeah, a huge part, definitely. Social media plays a really important part, at least in my part of the world, e-commerce.
Yeah, and with that, obviously, you're exposed to so many different people. So how do you align what you want to produce for people with what people want to be produced, if that makes sense? I don't know if I've articulated that well. But how do you make sure you keep what you want to do, but also provide for what people want?
I think it's very important, like you just said, right, to kind of differentiate between what you want to give people versus what people actually want, because there are many times when you get into it thinking that, oh, I think I have an idea and I really think everyone wants this, but that might not be the case. So the first thing would obviously be a research, like a lot of research, because you might think that something's going to be the next new trending product, or you might be thinking that, oh, this one's definitely going to go viral, but you don't know what people actually want. And for that, it would definitely be a lot of research. And the second most important thing is, irrespective of the research, if in the first 1 week of launching whatever product, at least in e-commerce, if it's not working out, you got to accept it and move on, because it's very, very easy to get attached to your idea, to the point that it's not even about helping solve a problem, or it's not even about helping the consumer anymore, but it's just about putting your product out there and kind of pushing it on people's faces. So I think that's where you also got to learn to stop and be like, this isn't working. My main purpose is to help my consumer out. And if that's not happening, then I've got to adapt this. I've got to come up with a new variation of the product, or actually take into consideration what the customers want. It could be Facebook comments, it could be doing surveys. Yeah, just figuring out what they want. So a lot of research.
Thank you. Gabby, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, my Wi-Fi cut out, so I'm not sure I'm answering the right question. But it was about like doing what the customer wants, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, sometimes I'll be like dead set on one design, and then I'll ask all my friends, and they prefer the other one. Then I get really annoyed, and I'm like, no, guys, like you're wrong. And then I ask my family, and they're like, no, I prefer the other one. And I'm like, really? And like, I'll do like an Instagram poll, and everyone prefers the other one. And then so I was like, right, okay. So then I ended up making the one that everyone preferred, because like you could be kind of stupid not to. But then it came, and like I absolutely loved it, and it was definitely like the right choice. So I think it's just finding a balance between something that you really genuinely like, but not just making stuff that like you like and no one else wants.
Yeah, I think that balance is key, and you obviously doing your research, asking people is obviously helping that process. So that comes to the end of my questions. I think if any of the audience, we're virtual audience, have any questions, I am conscious of time because it is coming up to the hour mark, which is the period of the event. So if there are any audience questions, I welcome them now. So yeah, if you can either use use the hand signal or in the chat, or just verbally ask some questions. Go for it.
I put a question in the chat, but maybe just one person wants to answer, but it was around how have people found the balance in university versus starting something, and are you glad that you committed to that extra commitment? I don't know who wants to take that.
Sorry, Debbie, could you repeat that question?
Yeah, so those who started at university, so kind of how have you found balancing university commitments while starting your idea, and are you glad that you committed to doing that with obviously all your other commitments?
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah, it was horrible. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I guess I'm truly embodying the human entrepreneur right now. It's terrible. I've had nights where I've cried myself to sleep, forgotten to eat, had numerous breakdowns. One was, and I think burnouts. One was so bad that I couldn't open my eyes one day. It was terrible, but at the end of the day, it was fun. It was really, really fun. You're building something from scratch and you're solving problems that need to be solved, and you're helping people. I think, you know, one of the cool things is when you're building something. I still remember this. We had our first Connect Us event, and there's this girl that comes up to me and says, you know what, I just wait, Varun, I want to thank you. I want you to meet someone. And then I'm like, sure. She says, you know, this is my best friend and I met her through Connect Us and now we're really close friends. That gives me goosebumps, and it makes it so much more worth it. And all of that, just like, it pushes you. So I guess, yeah, it's not easy. And especially with doing a degree, and I'm not sure if like, what your goals are with your degree, whether you're going to get a first or 2-1. People say that you should compromise. I say you shouldn't. It depends on how you want to do it. But I like performing well in what I take up. And as a result of that, I put undue pressure on myself as well. So yeah, it wasn't easy. One of the things I would definitely do is take more breaks and start delegating a lot more and a lot earlier. And before that, learn to fire quickly. You know, you very often in teams, you know, you start off as friends, and you know that's the closest proximity you have to people building with you. But that might not click every once in a while. Learn to let go of that in a civil way. It does not mean you have to end your friendship or whatever. It just means that you're not cut out to work together in business, and acknowledge that and move on. Doing that quickly puts a lot less strain on yourself, and it becomes a lot more enjoyable. So I guess, yeah, to answer your question in a short and simple way, Debbie, it's not easy, and you definitely need to have something of a burning desire to solve something if you want to manage it, especially with workload.
Thank you.
And of course, this is not to dissuade anybody from starting entrepreneurship. The goal of this is to be completely honest with you. I can sit here and sugarcoat it, but that's not going to help anyone.
Thank you for that. Sorry, Debbie, were you?
I was just going to say, I think Gabby wanted to.
Yeah, Gabby's got her hand up. Do you have something?
Yeah, it was just a really quick thing. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same position with like juggling it, and I think kind of it's quite key to remember that you can't expect yourself to give 100% to both things all the time. So there definitely have been like areas of compromise on either side for me. Like something I do is I do things in collections generally. So like I'll release clothes in a big collection, like over phases of time, so that rather than having to do stuff like all of the time, it's like I try and time it like so that it doesn't match up with my assignments. There was one time I timed it to match perfectly with like all of my assignments, which was the worst idea, but like generally I try and offset all of it so I can juggle it. Not easily, but I can manage it.
I suppose that's the beauty of you being in charge of the business, is that you are able to adjust it to your responsibilities. So yeah, that's definitely insightful. Thank you. Yeah, Molly.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, you know, ultimately it's your business and you're the one in charge, and you decide how quickly or how slow it progresses. And one thing I've sort of struggled with, I think, why I've been setting this up is the fact I was in my third and final term at university, which I'm sure all of you know is quite stressful. And then I went and did a month of teaching in India, and then I went and did my master's, which I'm doing now. And it's like I'm juggling several things at once. So like, why in my head I expect, my business to be further than where it is when I've been doing all this other stuff. And you have to be a bit kind to yourself because you can only do so much at once. And I think that's part of the expectation, is if you're doing this while you're at university, you need to be realistic about how much you can give at any one time. And yeah, just be a bit kinder. I definitely need to be kinder.
Amazing, thank you. I hope that has helped everyone. Are there any more questions that anyone has? I'm just checking the chat now. I don't think there are. If anyone does have any more questions, then feel free to ask. Yes, there was a noise. I don't know if that was someone sending something in the chat. Oh, brilliant. Thank you, everyone. Really insightful, Debbie says. So to add to that, thank you for all of your insight today. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out to share your journeys and to share very personal things about your journeys, and hopefully that has helped people and has been useful for people who are thinking of starting a side business or who already have a side business. I mean, even the advice you guys have given can apply generally whether you have a business or not. So it was really nice to hear from all of you, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, everyone, for attending, and thank you, Debbie, for helping this event happen. I don't know if, Debbie, you have any closing words, or if Ellie would like to say anything, or if the panelists would like to just say one last thing.
I would like Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, from an enterprise perspective, that it's been really insightful in terms of a session, but also if talking about the failure and everything else, but the kind of journey that people go on, and kind of the skills in terms of enterprise skills. So talking about resilience, talking about pitching, and talking about communication and so on. These are all skills that employers are looking for and kind of dying for people to have. So it's almost a kind of win-win situation to kind of start something, because it shows that you're proactive. It shows that you're basically standing out against other students that aren't initiating and proactive and so on. So always bear that in mind as well. Again, kind of in terms of the journey, and kind of whichever direction you go in, it's a great thing to tick off. And whether that is going to work for someone, it's enterprise skills that you can tick off and put on your CV and talk about in your interview, or hopefully successful in starting your startup, basically.
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, Janvi, did you have anything you were going to say?
Just wanted to thank Warwick Enterprise Society and the Girl Boss Society for having us here. It was genuinely a fun conversation, and just got to meet the other three panelists as well as the virtual audience. Thank you so much for logging in. And if anyone wants to get in touch, I'll just drop in my website and my Instagram. So just message me. No worries. It could be about anything. It could be about Warwick. It could be about work or anything totally. So just feel free to get in touch. And I genuinely did have a great time.
Thank you very much. That's really helpful.
Yeah, same goes for me as well. I'll drop my contact details in the chat here, but thanks a lot, Girl Boss and Warwick Enterprise, for having all of us. It was a lovely chat, and thanks to everyone that showed up as well.
Thank you. We have recorded this event, so I think we'll put it somewhere accessible for everyone, just in case they want to look back on it. But just look out for social media things if we post it. Have a nice day, everyone, and thank you all for joining.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.